Hey guys, it's Alyssa from Planned Alyssa, and I am here with a new video. This is more of a general reselling video, not specific to Etsy, not specific to Amazon, not specific to eBay, and it's more, I guess, I was going to say it's more for new sellers, although I think there's something you can learn here even if you're not a new reseller, and that's one of the tips in the video. These are 10 things that you should know if you're a new reseller, if you're a reseller, if you're planning on becoming a reseller, and these are just some things I've learned along the way, and I thought I would share them with you. So without further ado, here are 10 things you should know if you are or want to get into reselling. Okay, number one on the list is I think it's a very good idea to have multiple streams of income. And so what that means is, don't sell just on eBay, don't sell just on Etsy, don't just sell on Amazon, or anywhere else. Don't, I think, pick just one spot. You can have one thing that's your main source of income, but it's always a good idea to have other things going on and other ways that you have money coming in, even beyond reselling. And the reason is for this is because things change, things happen, accounts can get shut down, you can have some issue, and if that is where all your money is coming from, you're going to be in trouble. And this is based on personal experience. I sold on eBay for a number of years. Well, I'll go back. When I started off selling on reselling, I actually started off selling on Amazon. This was many years ago before FBA even existed. And so I sold used books, merchant fulfilled. And, I made some extra money doing that. It was not a full-time income for me. I had a day job. And from that, I branched out into selling on eBay and sold different stuff on eBay. Didn't sell books on eBay, sold really all sorts of items, sold clothing, sold collectibles, sold artwork. I sold anything and everything, anything that I could. And my story is that I actually was helping out people, helping out my parents actually sell something that I wouldn't normally sell, just because it was something that you didn't want to have to ship. It was wheels and tires for a car, and it was just a huge nightmare. It was a nightmare from the beginning, before anything even went wrong with it. And then what ended up happening was the person who bought it wasn't really, like, it was a hacked account, and anyway, all this money was lost in the process. And long story short is suddenly I didn't have eBay income coming in because my account got shut down, part of it, and my PayPal was like locked up and everything. So if I was relying on my eBay income, I would have been in huge trouble. Thankfully, I had a day job and I had my money coming in from Amazon, and the whole experience actually turned me off eBay for a long time. It was, within the past few years that I actually got back to selling on eBay. Kind of along the same lines, but a little bit different, is don't specialize. And what I mean by that is, well, it's good to have things that you're interested in, things that you're very knowledgeable about. If you limit yourself too much, you're going to limit the amount of money that you have coming in. So if you say, well, I'm only going to deal with used books, or I'm only going to deal with shoes, or whatever, it limits you. I mean, you might go out and you might go somewhere where you think you're going to find a bunch of shoes or a bunch of books, and it's not there, but there's other stuff that you can sell. So if you specialize, you limit the amount of money that you can make, because, if you know a lot about different stuff, or if you're willing to take chances and try out different stuff, you'll have money coming in. And so when you're going out sourcing, it's great if you can hit a store, and even if they don't have what you think or what you're hoping that they'll have, they probably have something else that you can pick up and make money on. And if you're too busy specializing in just like a few specific categories, then you're going to leave a lot of money out there on the table, and it's going to be harder to make a living doing this the more you specialize. Now, at the same time, you can have things that you're very knowledgeable about and things that you do, deal well in, but try other stuff too. Don't limit yourself too much. Don't quit your day job. And what I mean by that is, if you already have a day job, which I know not all of us are lucky to have, but if you have a day job and you want to get into reselling, start doing reselling while still doing your day job. It can be tough. It's going to take longer to, do things because you're just going to be able to do it when you have spare time. But at the same time, you have the reliability of a steady paycheck. And that's something you won't have if you go full-time into reselling. And it's hard to know, like, I mean, if you start off, reselling in, say, like October, and you got like a ton of money coming in, you're gonna be like, this is great. I'm gonna quit my job and do this. And then February rolls around and, you're making half or a third what you were making in October, you might start to panic. So there's that to keep in mind. And you want to, when you first start out with any business, reselling is a business, you're going to want to invest your profits back into the business. So it's just like, opening up a franchise. If you opened up a McDonald's franchise, you wouldn't expect to be, banking. You wouldn't expect to be just taking home all the money you're making. You're going to put it back into the business. You're going to put it into advertising. You're going to put it into growing your business. And that's what you're going to do with reselling. Not really advertising, but, probably buying more inventory. And so I would say, when you first start out, have some other source of income. You shouldn't really be relying on this as your main source of income, because if you are, it's going to be really tough to grow your business to the point where you can make a full-time living at it. So hopefully you have some other source of income, a day job, something. And, this is something to try out, make some money, put money back into it. By the time you grow it and, you're seeing a very consistent profit and you realize, you figured it out, and, maybe you've been doing this for a year and are like, okay, I can make a living doing this, then you can think about quitting the day job, but don't do it right away, because when you first start out, it's very important to put money back into the business so you can grow it and get to a point where you're doing really well. And so when you watch videos, people like me or anyone who are doing full-time reselling, know that we didn't start out that way, that we grew our business over time by putting money back into the business. Never stop learning, and what I mean by that is no matter how long you've been doing this or what you think you know about a particular item, there's always something to be learned. And of course, if you're watching videos on YouTube, you probably are still in the process of learning and are open to ideas and suggestions. And honestly, never stop learning is a good rule for anything in life. We all have things that we can learn from each other, and be open to it. And there's stuff to be learned out there, and it'll help you. It'll benefit you. So it's a good thing. And now at the same time, you need to find what works for you. And what works for you isn't going to be what works for someone else. And that can be, the type of items you sell, or, how you run your business, or the places that you sell, or, just the things that you do. Even the places that you source your inventory. Some people like to go to thrift stores. Some people would prefer to go to auctions. Some people love garage sales. Some people hate them. And so, what you do has to be what works for you. And it may not be the same as what works for everyone else. There are a lot of people out there who sell, used clothing on eBay. And I just have no interest in that. I mean, I've tried it and it's like, that isn't what I want to do. I know there's a lot of money to be made doing that. And, that's great, but it doesn't work for me. But that's okay, because there's all these other ways that I can make money, so I don't need to do that. And that's the beauty of this. Like, you can find things that you like selling and that you like doing, and there's enough money to be made. So even though I say don't specialize, at the same time, you don't have to sell everything that's out there. You can find the items that you want to sell that work for you. You can run your business the way you want to run it. If you want to grow so big that you're hiring staff, great. If you want to keep it small enough where you can do it yourself, you can do that too. This reselling is very much a numbers game, and that is the biggest thing that I think new sellers don't really understand. I get a lot of questions via Etsy or via my Etsy videos about people who are new and who haven't sold anything yet, and my tips for what they should do to promote their shop to, bring in more sales. And when I look at these shops, the first thing I think is, well, they don't have too much to sell. And so that's going to limit what you sell. It seems so obvious, but I mean, at the same time, you know, I list a lot of stuff, and what I sell on a weekly basis is only a small fraction of what I actually currently have listed, and that's how it works. You know, the sell-through rate on Amazon is phenomenal if you're selling FBA. eBay and Etsy, it's going to be a lot smaller, and you have to think of that. And so as you're doing it, you'll kind of figure out with the stuff you sell and, you know, how much you list, what percentage of that sells through on a weekly basis. And so if you know what you want to make, then you know how much you have to have listed. So, for example, like on Etsy, you know, I have sellers contacting me who maybe have like 20 items listed in their Etsy store. And 20 items isn't that many. Depending on what you're selling and how much it's going for, even if you sold out everything in your store, which isn't going to happen, you're not going to have that much money. So you really got to work on getting more listings. And the way it works, especially with Etsy, I think eBay to an extent too, is as you list more stuff, you're going to get more views, and people might see one of the items that you've listed, not buy that item, but then look at another item that you have in the store and buy that. And so that's why it's really a numbers game. At any given time on Etsy, well, I don't know because I'm going off the top of my head, but I probably have like 800, 900 items listed. And, you know, you're not going to get to that overnight, obviously. It took me years to get to that point. And, but that's how I'm able to sell stuff every week, because I'm, you know, relisting stuff, I'm adding new stuff. And so there's a lot out there, and so I get a lot of views as a result of having so many items listed. Now that's kind of extreme. I don't think you need to have that many listed. Something going on eBay there. Sorry about that. But yeah, you know, if you only have a few things listed, it's going to be much, much harder to sell stuff. And the same is true on eBay. You know, if you're listing like 10 things on eBay, you can expect to maybe sell one in a week, depending on what you're listing and how much you're listing it for. And so, you know, I mean, we can't live on one item a week, so you got to really list more items to make more money. And that's how it goes. And Amazon too. Amazon's a little different only because, first of all, you can see when you're buying an item what the sales rank is, so you have a pretty good idea of how quickly it'll sell. Within reason, and you know, like what the selling price is. You kind of can see all that when you're buying an item for Amazon. And so with Amazon, it's going to move, items just move quicker. It's, you know, if something isn't moving quicker, you know not to buy it, basically, because you can see the sales rank on it and see the price and all that. Where you can't really see that so much with eBay. That's more of an experience kind of thing, and learning as you go along. But because we have so much data with the Amazon sales, you can kind of see that ahead of time. But yeah, again, you know, I make a full-time living from Amazon, but that's because every week I'm sending in hundreds of items to Amazon. I mean, right now, well, last week I sent in like 106 items, but I've been averaging, you know, over 200 items a week that I'm sending into Amazon, and that's how I'm making a full-time living doing it. If you're, you know, sending 30 items a week, it's hard to make a full-time living in those, unless those are 30 really valuable items that are going to sell quickly. Now, when you're starting out, you're probably going to be kind of like doing things helter-skelter, unless you're like a super organized person, which I'm not, as you can see behind me. Then you're probably not going to have a system when you first start out. But I will urge you to start come up with some kind of system, because it will help you so much, and even if you don't need it at first, you're going to need it down the line. So a system for what? A system for if you're storing items at your house, how you're going to store them, how you're going to organize them, you know, just so you know where things are when they sell, so you can pack them up. Even a system for packing and shipping items, a system for listing items, a system for photographing items. All of that will help you tremendously in the long run. Even though at first you're like, I don't really need it. Come up with that system early on, and you'll save yourself a lot of headache down the road. So yeah, a system and being organized, especially if that doesn't come naturally to you, will help you hugely, hugely in the long run. So be prepared to work hard. You know, when you sit and watch these videos, like, we kind of make it look easy, but there's a lot of work that you're not seeing, a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I don't know if there is any real get-rich-quick scheme out there. This is, you know, a get-rich from hard work like any other business. So you're gonna have to put the work in. You know, when we make haul videos, like, you see all the stuff that we bought, but you don't necessarily see us going out there and not finding stuff, which happens. I mean, you can go to like 5 garage sales and not pick up a thing because there's nothing at them. Or you can even go to a thrift store and maybe only walk out with, you know, 2 or 3 items. And I'll tell you personally, like, I don't make a haul video when I go to a thrift store and only find 2 items, because that'd be a really short, boring video. But that happens. And so, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into that you don't necessarily see if you're just watching YouTube videos. You don't really see us too much prepping items, packing items up, you know, going through the whole process of taking pictures, you know, putting stuff away, and even like packing it up to ship it out, and all that goes into that. So there is work out there. It's going to take time. And you know, if you're willing to put in the time and the effort, then you're going to see rewards down the road. That's just how it goes. But yeah, you know, be prepared to work. And, you know, if you think it's like one of these easy things where you're just going to have money rolling in, I have to disappoint you and tell you that's just not how it goes. And going into this, it's very important to understand your expenses. And so, you know, the obvious one, I think, is, you know, what it costs to buy an item. You know, and keep track of all that, obviously, for tax purposes and for your own records. But there are more expenses than just that. So there are listing fees if you're listing items on Etsy or eBay. I mean, I know sometimes we have like free fees, but there are selling fees, like the final value fees for an item. When you're selling on Amazon, you also, if you're doing FBA, there are storage fees to understand, and there are also the inbound shipping fees to understand. So you should be aware of all that. Also take in mind the costs, like the incidental costs of purchasing items. Like, you know how much you paid at the store for the item, but how much gas did you spend, you know, and wear and tear on your car did you spend, like, going at back and forth? What other, you know, things are you buying, you know, for your business? Are you, you know, make sure you keep track of all your supplies, all your bubble wrap and tape and boxes and all that good stuff. I'm trying to think of what else, you know, technology fees, if you're paying for your phone or your internet to run your business. Those are all fees. Now, some of those you might be paying anyway, but some of them might be extra fees. And so, you know, keep track of all the expenses that go into your business, so that you can get a really clear idea of what your profit is, because it's not just a matter of, you know, you bought an item for $10 and you sold it for $50 and you made $40. It doesn't really work that way. But if you sold an item for $10 and made $50 on it, you know, you definitely have some profit even after all those fees. Okay, and my final bit of advice is to take all advice with a grain of salt, including this advice that I'm giving you here, because everybody's talking to you from their own perspective, and that may not be, you know, the same as what you were doing or how things are for you. And you have your own unique situation, your own life situation, your own, you know, business situation. And so, you know, somebody, you know, like me tells you this is how you should do things. You know, take it all, process it, but also do your own thing and know what works for you, as opposed to what I do. I mean, there's so many different ways to make money doing this that, and not everybody does everything. Like I said, I don't sell clothes. I don't sell on Craigslist. You know, there's all these other ways that people can make money. And so if somebody says, well, I only do Amazon, I wouldn't bother with anything else, you know, that maybe is what works for them, but, you know, think of yourself and your own needs and what you like and what you prefer and what seems to work for you. So, yeah. So anyway, guys, those are my 10 little tips, pieces of advice for you if you're new, getting started in reselling or interested in getting started in reselling, and just some stuff I learned along the way. And I don't know, I hope that helps you in some way. And if you have your own tips or advice that you have learned, please feel free to share them. Leave a comment below. So thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you are selling lots of stuff and making lots of money, and I wish you lots and lots of success.